this is Leslie, Geeks and Company Geeking Out, and community series. And today's community series, we're celebrating African American History, Black History Month, and we have our guest, Travis Amsterdam, who is a returned Peace Corps volunteer. So we're going to talk about Peace Corps. One of the other things I geek out about Peace Corps all the time. So this is actually dear to me. And if you have, for those of you who don't know, Peace Corps is a federal agency that sends Americans overseas to help out in economic and social development around the world. Started by John F. Kennedy in 1961, and well, they're going to be celebrating the 60th year pretty soon. So what's there to me is not only about Peace Corps, but Peace Corps diversity in the Peace Corps. So we're going to talk to Travis about his experience and see what he has to share with you guys.
Glad to be here, Leslie.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here. So we're both actually returned Peace Corps volunteers. I served in Guinea, West Africa as a health volunteer. I might as well go ahead and date myself. The grade is already telling you. So I served in 94, 96. And this was shortly after I finished the military. But it was two different experiences, and we'll go into that. But Travis, who served sooner.
So I served in Togo, West Africa as well, and as a health volunteer. So I served between June of 14 and July of 2016.
Cool. So today, unlike any other information session or anything like that, we're just going to be chatting about Peace Corps, and we want to invite you guys to this chat. Disclosure, I used to work for Peace Corps, but I don't work for Peace Corps anymore. So now I'm able just to talk freely about my experience and so on, meaning that if y'all have any questions, go ahead and just ask away, and I'll be happy to answer as a returned Peace Corps volunteer. Now, if you're interested in doing Peace Corps, if you're interested in getting more technical information, please go to the Peace Corps website, because we're not going to be doing that. We're only going to be talking about our experiences and what we think about diversity in the Peace Corps. But if you want to get the technical information, please go to www.peacecorps.gov. And you want to join Peace Corps, which we highly encourage, go to that website. It has everything that you need as far as technical, how to apply, but tonight, we're not doing that. We're going to just talk about our experience, and hopefully you find it interesting. So tell me, where did you serve?
So again, I was in Togo. Many people don't know where it is. It's the country right east of Ghana. And I was in a region called the Savannah region. So very top of the country where the climate is kind of Sahara-like. So I lived in a village that had just a few hundred people, maybe like 600-700, even though it's a part of a series of villages, about 9 or 10 villages altogether. So just like a typical Peace Corps service, you lived amongst the people, the community. You got to know them, spend time just kind of learning about their values, like how they like to socialize, what's important to the community. And my main objective was to try to improve some of their health outcomes, whether that was malaria was a focus, or malnutrition, or hygiene and sanitation, while we also had the opportunity to branch off into other sectors like food security or English and gender equality.
Now, this is changing a bit, so I'm put that out right now. However, in general, like in the last maybe 2 or 3 decades, Americans really were slow in getting their passports and traveling. And that's even more so in the African American community.
Right.
Now, I'm saying this is changing a bit because I'm part of a lot of groups on social media that you can see a lot of African Americans are out there going travel. Now, I would suggest, more so that those of you who have not left your homes, get out there. There's so much in the world to see. So I'm a big advocate at getting out there. What was your purpose of joining Peace Corps as far as going overseas and so on? What did you think of your experience?
So I guess I could answer it in a few different ways. The first is because I'm Guyanese by birth, and my family, a lot of them are Guyanese. When I was in undergrad, I had a chance to study abroad a couple of times, and I traveled just with my family to countries in Europe, South America. So I already had kind of an inclination to do things internationally. One of my undergraduate majors was international studies, and ultimately I want to work in the international realm with development specifically. So when I was applying for Peace Corps, I saw it one as an opportunity to expand what I was already familiar with the international world and just have another opportunity to go to. Well, I decided to emphasize that I wanted to go to somewhere that was different from Europe or Latin America since I'd already been to those. And so I really appreciated the fact that it was my first time in Africa. So obviously with a normal Peace Corps service, you spend 2 years there. So lived there for 2 years. Well, even though I served in Togo, I got to visit Ghana next door for a couple of weeks. I got to visit South Africa for a few weeks. And so I just appreciated being there, learning about the culture, the motherland, of course. So being, trying to kind of the feel of just being in touch with what should be your Black roots, even though I haven't done something like Ancestry.com or anything. Most of us can trace our origins back to West Africa. So I just appreciate I got to learn French as a language. I didn't focus as much on the local languages, but I could probably recognize a couple of basic phrases. So I just appreciated my time there. Ultimately, I hope to not only still look back years from now and think it was a worthwhile experience, because that's what I do see it as, and also helping my professional endeavors in the international field.
So how do you feel as far as it helped you in your international endeavors?
I can say one, it just gave me another how should I say perspective, because again, my first time visiting the African continent. So in terms of my professional endeavors, just that extra experience picking up I can say that I'm more familiar with West African culture, if that's an area that I choose to focus on specifically in the future. Picks up another language, so when you work in the national field, the more languages, the more of an asset you are. So those are a few of the ways that come to mind. And to be honest, in the future, if an opportunity came to work with Peace Corps, I would definitely consider it strongly, because I really appreciated my experience and I do respect what the organization sets out to do, different from other organizations. Instead of, not to discredit the work that they do, but one of the main differences in what Peace Corps does is the fact that the volunteers give up 2 years of their time, their life, to actually live amongst the community, to really get to know them and to try to work with what they see as their issues, what they see as things that needs to be improved, and how to connect with them so that when the work that you're doing in your community, you're more trusted, because the people really, you build that type of bond. And I think there's a lot of organizations, again, they mean well, and they, not to say that their work isn't valuable, but they focus more so on the economic incentive of what can I build for you, or how can I develop, and they also fit in a role, but I just appreciate how the Peace Corps approach to. So I think it's something that I can really use to say that it's just a unique perspective I can give to my international experience.
I totally agree with you, because another thing I liked about Peace Corps too is it was that we weren't going there dictating what to do. We were partnered with everyone, So we, for instance, I work with a midwife, So believe me, I was a business major, so I went in there. She was teaching me, right. But the fact that my marketing, I had a marketing background, I was able to work with her and market better healthcare, But it wasn't just me; it was her and I, and just the community trying to do what's best. So when I left, she continued to work, mm-hmm. or another volunteer came in. So it wasn't something like we came and just gave out and we left. Right. But it was more of a how we can work together so we can better this community and so on.
Right.
So that's one part of it. The other part, to be honest with you, is the things that people discredit or take for granted or don't really look at. It's the non-tangible. I mean, I would never be able to trade the fact of me being able to live in the community of Dungan for 2 years, coming from a city boy, because I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and here I am in the farmland, with chickens and cows and whatnot, and this is just walking through my house. But no, honestly, with these, kind of living that farmer's kind of life, and not only that, no one spoke English. But they were speaking Fulani and French, and just it was like night and day from where I came from and to where I was living. So it was a great way of learning more about myself.
Right.
But also just having that community know a little bit about me, because believe it or not, I was the first African American male they met.
Really?
Yeah, in that community.
In West Africa.
Yeah, and that small little community. Yes. When I first got there, they kept on calling me Jenny. Jenny is a white, blonde, blue-eyed girl who had served prior to prior to me,
right.
And she had to leave, and they thought they were going to be replaced with another Jenny. And then Leslie Jean Pierre, which sounds close like Jenny, so we'll just call him Jenny. No, I'm not Jenny. Got no blonde, blue eyes. No, I am. Are you sure you're American? Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So that, of course, was a little bit frustrating at first, but after a while. My surrogate mother, Fatimata Denebetaba, who was the midwife.
Remember her name?
I know, yeah. I remember her, of course, yeah. And I'm talking about over close to 30 years now. But
right.
the fact is, the impact that she put upon me and other communities as well. But it was just so significant, So it wasn't just we as volunteers giving. It was a give and take.
Right.
A lifetime give or take, so.
Right, and that's the thing, like, to so many things you said. One, I'm not sure what other organizations kind of offer this experience, and it's something that the more you can commit to it, the more you get out of it, as most things in life. Again, it's 2 years of your time, and it happened to be, I would say, maybe a little easier for me because, again, my family being Guyanese, I'm more, in my travels before, I'm more familiar with kind of the international scene. There's some volunteers I served with that had never traveled abroad, and especially to the extent that we had to live within our communities. I was one of the few volunteers in my cohort that spent their entire service, or at least in my village itself, without electricity. Some others didn't have running water as well. Like less than 5 volunteers in my group of over 40 that we started with. And so now, yes, I would go to town on the weekends. I would be able to charge my electronics or communicate with family. But again, I'm not sure what organizations would allow you to have that experience. And you have to say, I remember my first night getting to my village. I had a few rooms that were donated by we call him like a landlord. He was the husband to, now of course in that culture polygamy is a thing, so he had a few wives that lived in the complex, and so he donated one of the living air spaces to me, the volunteer. The Peace Corps representative asked him to do that, and he was obliged to. And I remember getting there and thinking like, wow, it's about to be where I'm living for 2 years, it's just really just a living room, bedroom, and fortunately a lot of volunteers had an outhouse type area, so mine was inside, and it was nothing like you would picture, a living room here, like no, these are concrete,
believe me,
tin roof, like,
yeah.
so I'm preaching to the choir, so.